Hello guys, as you might or might not know, recently I've been dicking around with Unity and I thought I might as well record the results of that dicking around just for shits and giggles. So let me show you what I did today. You can walk around and you can look up and down and to the sides, and you can go upstairs and you can fall down, and you can also go up slopes and you can fall down, and you can run into a column, and you can also look at things on the table, and the things tell you their names, and you can pick them up and rotate them around and then put them back. And this is a shitty robot model I made for another Unity test I did before. Also trying to learn a little bit of Blender, but I don't know, Blender is pretty intimidating compared to Wings 3D, which I've used before for 3D modeling. And you can also press escape and get the exit button, but it doesn't work because we are in the editor and not running an actual executable of the game. It's not really a game, just a little test. So I think the general consensus is that Unreal 4 is the shit and Unity is just shit, but I'm not very convinced about that. You see, I don't like the blueprints in Unreal 4. I don't know if you can actually write any code, or, well, you probably can, but I think blueprints are what you're supposed to use, and I just like writing code. I think it is fun, so that's why I chose Unity. So let's look at the scripts I wrote to make this work. There are like 3 scripts. This is the shortest, just application quit. This is for the exit button. Pretty simple. Here's the movement script for player. All kinds of things are happening in here. First of all, a bunch of like variable declarations and such. Here is a function to hide the crosshair, and it's kind of stupid and I need to redo that. This is the start function that executes as soon as the game starts. And here we just lock the cursor and get the character controller component so we can move character around, and get the mask for raycasting. This is the update function. It runs every frame, and each frame we check if player has pressed the escape key so we can show the exit button and switch back to the game. This is where raycasting happens. Every frame we raycast to check if player is looking at something, and if that something is an object we can interact with, we then check if player is clicking the mouse button. And if that's what happens, we'll switch to object inspection mode. This is fixed update function that runs every physics frame or something. I'm not sure I understand this, but whatever, it works. From what I've gathered from the tutorials, like update is for like graphical stuff and fixed update for physics stuff. And in fixed update we just check the player input, keyboard and mouse input, and then we move and rotate the player. This is like pretty simple. There's actually a standard asset you can use which has first-person shooter kind of controls, and I'm not using it because I've looked at it and it seemed like really complicated, and I don't really feel comfortable using stuff I don't really understand how it works. So I did that myself, and I can like change it later if I want to. I can change everything if I want to. That's the beauty of programming. Anyway, the rotations in Unity, and I guess it's not just Unity but pretty much everywhere, but that was something new for me, are represented by quaternions. And I have no friggin' clue what this is, like a 4-dimensional vector with like a complex component, something I just don't know. And personally I don't really care, because I am using just Euler angles for stuff. And maybe that's not the most efficient way, but that's the way I can understand. Here's the item script, once again like variables and stuff. Here's a function that sets the position where you need to move the object so player can look at it. In the start function we just save the original position and rotation of the object, and we also find player and player controller script, so we can use some variables from there. And on each frame we check the state of the player, if player is in interaction state and if the object is currently selected by the player. We do stuff. There are also like different states of the object itself, of the item itself. And the first state is when it needs to move towards the player. And there we just move it. There is a very handy function that transitions from one value to another. And it's pretty convenient. And when we finally have our item where we need it to, we switch to the next state, in which we read player mouse input and rotate the object. It's like pretty simple, just like player rotation, except there was that weird issue that at certain rotations the angle around z-axis would suddenly become 180 degrees from 0. And I'm not sure I understand why that happened, but I had to like come up with this like workaround so everything works just as expected. And here we also check for mouse clicks, so we can put the item back. And in the final state we just put the item back into its original position and switch the player back to like walking around state and like enable the cursor and stuff. Oh, that's like not very complicated, but took me like a little while to write that. I have some experience with C#. I've kind of sort of learned it before at the university. Not really, but kind of. But I still kind of have to think about stuff and like make mistakes and rewrite some parts of code until they like work right. And that's normal. That's what I like about coding. You just sit down and write some stuff, it doesn't work, and then you like fix it, and then it works, and then you feel good about yourself. And this is how everything is set up in the Unity editor. Here's a directional light that is there by default. I could change it, but I just don't care. And there is the standard skybox, and I have no idea how to make skyboxes yet, because I just never really cared to read about that. Maybe one day, maybe later. Here is this environment game object that holds all the things in our scene, like all the geometry, like floor and walls and columns and slope and stairs and table, and all of that is just made with standard Unity primitives. Then there is the items game object that holds all the items we can interact with, and each item has this item script attached, and that's where you can like set up the name for the item that shows up when you look at it. Here's the player object, which is pretty much just a character controller component and a player controller script that I wrote attached to it. And this character controller is the thing that takes care of all the physics and stuff and collisions. You can just set it up the way you want and then only write the logic for movement, so you don't have to write like any collision detection and all that stuff, because that's all kinda just works automatically, and that's pretty cool. Then there is this canvas that's required for UI, and event system also required for UI, and that's kinda automatically generated whenever you add a UI element. So there's this like text You can't really see that right now because the string is empty, text is empty, and it only changes when you look at something. There's this dot which you can see, the crosshair, and the button which is like disabled because we don't want to deal with the button until player presses escape. And there's the button presser object that holds the script for the button, for the exit button. I'm not sure I need that, but well, it works, whatever. So that's that. Pretty satisfied with what I have so far. Not sure what I want to do next. Maybe like some inventory system, so you can like steal this stuff and like walk around with it, like carry that around. Not convinced I need that, but maybe that's something I should do. And also maybe some different kinds of objects you can like interact with, like doors you can open, maybe like switches you can press, and that would like activate something. But I really need to think about how to do that because I'm not really sure. But I guess I'll just have to figure it out as I start writing the logic for all that. So yep, that's what I've done for today, for like few hours. And if you, doesn't work because we are in the editor. And if you yourself want to learn Unity, just go for it. It's like pretty simple. I have some prior programming experience, so I know the basics, but even if you don't, I think it should be pretty easy to learn, because the tutorials on the site, on the Unity's website, are pretty great, and they just walk you through making like simple stuff, just step by step, really easy to follow, really easy to understand. And the Unity Personal Edition, which is what I'm using, is free. You just need to like set up an account on Unity's website, and here you go, you can get Unity for free. So that's it for now, I guess. Thanks for watching. I have some other things I could show you, but I don't know, maybe next time. We'll see. So yeah, goodbye.